Gunshots rang out in the stillness of the night, shattering the peaceful silence of Amityville, New York. But the most terrifying part? No one heard a thing. On November 13, 1974, at around 3 a.m., a gruesome tragedy unfolded at 112 Ocean Avenue, sending shockwaves across America. 6 members of the DeFeo family, parents and 4 children, were shot dead in their beds, each bullet mercilessly piercing their bodies while they lay motionless. No cries for help. No signs of struggle. The 3-story house, once a dream home with its luxurious pool and private dock, had become the scene of an unexplainable massacre. The sole survivor was Ronald Joseph DeFeo Jr., also known as Butch, the 23-year-old eldest son. He was the one who called the police, his voice trembling as he claimed to have discovered his family murdered. But the truth emerged quickly, darker and more horrifying than any nightmare. Under the cold glare of the interrogation room lights, bombarded by relentless questioning, Butch finally broke down. He confessed. He was the one who pulled the trigger. He led the police to the bloodstained clothes and the murder weapon, the rifle that ended 6 lives. No accomplices. No intruders. Just him, alone, consumed by an unexplainable madness. Investigators concluded that Butch had overdosed on drugs, leading to a psychotic episode that drove him to kill. His father and mother each took 2 fatal shots, while his 4 younger siblings, innocent souls, were executed with a single bullet each, forever trapped in an eternal slumber. The crime was committed with a high-powered rifle, an unsilenced weapon that should have roared through the quiet neighborhood. And yet, no one heard a thing. The only disturbance reported was the frantic barking of the DeFeo family dog around 3 a.m. But the gunshots, over 8 deafening blasts, vanished into the void. What really happened inside that house? How did 6 people, lying in their own beds, remain completely still as death approached? 2 siblings, sharing a room but sleeping in separate beds, were both found lying face down, as if waiting for the Reaper's touch. Their sister upstairs was in the same chilling position, her face pressed into the pillow as a bullet tore through her skull. Autopsy reports revealed no traces of sedatives, no drugs, no signs of forced unconsciousness. So how did Butch move like a phantom, executing each victim without a single one waking up or resisting? And the most unsettling question of all, why did the gunshots, the explosive echoes of murder, disappear without a trace, leaving behind only an eerie, suffocating silence? The case was closed within a year. Ronald Joseph DeFeo Jr. was sentenced to 6 consecutive life terms, condemned to die in prison. He passed away in 2021 at the age of 69, taking the secrets of that dreadful night to his grave. For the police, the case was solved. But for the rest of the world, the real story had only just begun. The unanswered mysteries, the silenced gunshots, the victim's unnatural stillness, the chilling aura of the house transformed 112 Ocean Avenue into a legend, a dark stain on Amityville's history, where truth and terror remain entangled in an impenetrable fog. In December 1975, more than a year after the gruesome massacre, 112 Ocean Avenue seemed destined to fade into oblivion until new residents arrived. The Lutz family moved in, drawn by a bargain price of $80,000 for the 3-story house, complete with a pool and private dock. George and Kathy Lutz, along with their 3 children, knew of the home's bloody past. But they believed the horrors had ended, that the spirits had found peace. They were wrong. The house was no longer just a crime scene, it was alive, breathing, and waiting to unleash new terror. From the very first day, an eerie darkness crept into their lives. The family invited a priest to bless the house, hoping to cleanse any lingering evil. But as soon as he stepped inside, a chilling voice echoed from nowhere, "Get out!" A bone-deep cold enveloped him, and an unseen force pressed heavily against his chest. Terrified, he fled before finishing the ritual. Later, he would confess that in all his years, he had never encountered anything so sinister. It was the first sign that the house rejected purification. It wanted to keep its darkness. Then, the nightmare nights began. George Lutz repeatedly woke up at 3:15 a.m., the exact time of the DeFeo murders 1 year prior. Not because of an alarm or the wind, but from the overwhelming sense of being watched from the shadows. Beads of sweat formed on his brow despite the winter chill. Heavy footsteps echoed through the halls, windows rattled as if struck by unseen hands, but when he checked, no one was there. His health declined rapidly, he became irritable, his eyes hollow, as if the house was draining the life out of him. Kathy, too, fell victim to the terror. She often felt a frigid breath on the back of her neck, even when she was alone in the kitchen. One afternoon, she entered the living room and froze in horror. Hundreds of black flies swarmed the window, an impossible sight in the dead of winter. She swept them away, but within hours, they returned, thicker, darker, as if sent from the beyond. Once, she caught a glimpse of a shadowy figure in the mirror, but when she turned, nothing but an eerie silence remained. Their youngest daughter, Melissa, had the most disturbing story of all. She innocently spoke of a new friend named Jody. Jody has a pig's face, with glowing red eyes that shine in the dark, she said, her childlike wonder mixed with fear. Jody would visit at night, standing in the corners of her room, sometimes sitting on her bed, whispering things Melissa refused to repeat. At first, George and Kathy dismissed it as a child's imagination until one stormy night, Melissa pointed at empty space and screamed, "Jody is here!" From that moment, they could no longer deny that something unnatural lurked in their home. The supernatural torment escalated. Loud knocks pounded on the walls, unpredictable, as if something was trying to break free. Doors swung open on their own, even after being locked. A foul, rotting stench, like decomposing flesh, suddenly filled certain rooms, only to vanish moments later. One night, George awoke to see a ghostly child standing at the foot of his bed, staring at him with empty eyes before dissolving into mist. Kathy dreamed of being choked by invisible hands and woke up to find red marks on her throat. Then came the breaking point. January 14, 1976. After 28 days in the house, the Lutz family endured a night so horrifying they never dared recount the full details. Amid screams, crashing objects, and sheer panic, they fled, leaving behind everything. Clothes, furniture, possessions abandoned in their desperate escape, as if they were running from death itself. They vowed never to return. Their story spread rapidly, drawing the attention of Ed and Lorraine Warren, the famed paranormal investigators. When a Channel 5 news team and a group of psychic researchers entered the house, they captured nothing definitive on film. But then, a single photograph emerged that sent chills down the world's spine, a ghostly boy with glowing white eyes, peering from a darkened corner. He bore an eerie resemblance to one of the murdered DeFeo children. The most terrifying part? There had been no children in the house at the time. The Amityville house was not just a crime scene. It was a living entity, a supernatural void that devoured light and hope. What the Lutz family endured was not just a ghost story, it was a warning. Because sometimes, evil does not die with its victims. It lingers, waits, and hunts those foolish enough to step through its doors. After the Lutz family fled 112 Ocean Avenue on January 14, 1976, the story of the Amityville massacre and its alleged supernatural horrors did not fade into obscurity. Instead, it ignited a storm of controversy, splitting public opinion into two opposing sides, those who believed in the paranormal and those who saw it as a carefully orchestrated hoax. The house was no longer just an address, it became a symbol, a mystery without answers, and a goldmine for those who knew how to exploit fear. The unanswered questions of Ronald DeFeo Jr. To understand the Amityville case, we must go back to Ronald Joseph DeFeo Jr., the man who slaughtered his family in 1974. His confessions were a tangled web of contradictions. At first, he insisted he was a victim, claiming an intruder had committed the murders. But when pressed, he changed his story. This time, he claimed his sister Dawn had killed their parents in a fit of rage. Their mother, discovering the crime, allegedly shot the younger siblings before Butch had to kill her in self-defense. The theory gained traction when gunpowder residue was found on Dawn's nightgown, raising questions about her involvement. However, a ballistics expert quickly dismissed the idea, stating that the residue came from being shot at close range, not from firing a weapon. But the truly unsettling details of the case, how no neighbors heard the gunshots, why all 6 victims lay face down in bed, and why there were no signs of struggle, left gaps no one could explain. These lingering mysteries fueled speculation. Did something in the house influence Butch DeFeo? Or was it simply the delusions of a disturbed mind? The Lutz family, victims or masterminds? But the real controversy centered on the Lutz family. After fleeing the house, George and Kathy Lutz worked with author Jay Anson to publish the Amityville Horror in 1977, turning their 28-day ordeal into a global phenomenon. The book sold millions, spawning a lucrative horror film franchise. This sudden financial success led skeptics to question the authenticity of their experiences. Was Jody the red-eyed pig, the knocking on the walls, and the swarm of flies just exaggerated tales crafted for profit? Critics pointed out that the Lutz family had bought the house for an unusually low price, $80,000, fully aware of its dark history, only to leave after 28 days, right before securing a book deal. Even more damning was the testimony of subsequent owners. Every family that lived in the house after 1976 claimed they never experienced anything supernatural. A couple who lived there for 10 years called the Lutz's story absurd and completely fabricated. If the house was truly haunted, why did no one else suffer the same horrors? The paranormal defense. However, believers in the supernatural had strong arguments of their own. Ed and Lorraine Warren, the famous demonologists, stood by the Lutz family's account. The Warrens claimed they felt an evil presence during their Channel 5 investigation, warning that the house harbored a dark force. Then came the most chilling piece of evidence, a photograph taken during their investigation. The image captured a ghostly young boy with glowing white eyes, peering from the shadows. Unlike the usual blurry ghost photos, this one was disturbingly clear. Even more shocking? The boy bore a striking resemblance to one of the murdered DeFeo children. The film crew swore no children were present that night. So who, or what, was in the photograph? Adding to the credibility of the Lutz's claims, both George and Kathy agreed to take polygraph tests, conducted by 2 of America's top experts. The results? No signs of deception. If they weren't lying, did that mean their terrifying experiences, the demonic voice ordering the priest to get out, the shadows in the mirrors, and the night that drove them to flee in terror, were real? A carefully crafted hoax? Fueling the skepticism was a bombshell revelation. William Weber, the attorney representing Ronald DeFeo, admitted he had met with George Lutz before the Amityville Horror was published. Weber later claimed that he and Lutz created the supernatural story over a few drinks, hoping it would help DeFeo's appeal and generate media profits. George Lutz, however, denied the accusation, and the truth remains shrouded in doubt. Yet regardless of the debate, there's one fact no one can deny: Amityville became a legend. The legacy of Amityville. The house inspired countless movies, books, and documentaries, cementing its place as one of the most infamous haunted houses in history. To discourage thrill seekers, its address has since been changed. and its signature eye-like attic windows have been remodeled. Yet, the name Amityville lives on, a chilling reminder that between truth and fiction, sometimes the uncertainty itself is the most terrifying part. The Amityville case is more than a story of blood and shadows, it's a reflection of belief, doubt, and human greed. So, what do you believe? Was 112 Ocean Avenue truly cursed, or was it the perfect illusion, crafted for fame and fortune? The answer may forever remain locked within its silent walls.